All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, for Patrick Ewing and the Georgetown Hoyas, the worst season in the program's history is over. Georgetown was eliminated by Seton Hall in the first round of the Big East tournament last week by the score of 57-53 as they finished the season with a record of 6-25 while going winless in the Big East Conference. Now, 13 of the Hoyas' 25 losses this past season were by at least 10 points. And earlier this month, Georgetown AD Lee Reed gave Ewing a vote of confidence in regards to remaining as the school's head basketball coach. Now, there are some who would like to see Georgetown move on from Ewing as he is 68-84 in 5 years as the school's head coach. But it's not just that cut and dry to move on from Ewing if you are Georgetown. Now, other than John Thompson II, Ewing is the face of Georgetown basketball as he is the greatest player in the program's history while also leading them to three Final Four appearances in a 4-year stretch while Georgetown won it all as national champions in 1984. And even though that this is a what have you done for me lately business, sports as a whole, it's tough to move on from a legend who is one of your most notable alums like Ewing is. Now, after leading Georgetown to the NCAA tournament last year, Ewing received a contract extension that is difficult to walk away from if you're Georgetown, as it has guaranteed money attached to it for the next couple of years. Now, this past season, we saw Georgetown have one of the youngest teams in the Big East, as they only had two seniors on the roster, while they had a combined nine freshmen and sophomores. You look at it, changes have already been made for Georgetown to Ewing staff. Two assistant coaches, Robert Kirby and Akbar Wahid, are out. So let's see who Georgetown brings in now. Plain and simple, that there's a need for Georgetown to recruit better, especially in the Maryland, DC area, as this was a staple for this program, both on the John Thompson II and John Thompson III, as they consistently got solid players from that area to come to Georgetown. Now, for Georgetown, they got to try to find a way to keep up with the Joneses in the Big East Conference. And I say that because Villanova, Creighton, Providence, and Connecticut are currently the class of this 11-team conference. And Georgetown definitely has to take a step up if they're going to compete with those schools. Now, since Ewing's arrival at Georgetown, the program has been mired by transfers, by players leaving. So it's going to be interesting to see, number one, if Ewing can find a way to keep the majority of his returning players intact for next season, while also, being able to possibly pick up a player or two from the transfer portal that could come in and contribute to this team next year. We'll have to wait and see. Now, another thing you ask yourself, is Ewing's old school approach, is it out of date, and is it getting through to this young team and the youngsters overall? I mean, Georgetown's past, and this is why I say that Georgetown's past is no longer a selling point that the youngsters will buy into. I mean, of course, you think back to the heyday for the Hoyas in the 80s and 90s. And, for John Thompson II, it was easy for him to go out there and talk to kids after Patrick Ewing laid the foundation and came there to play for him. It was easy to get the Alonzo Mourners, the Kembe Mutombos. Of course, Reggie Williams was a teammate of Patrick Ewing's on that 84 team. And then you think about, after that, the likes of, Othello Harrington in the 1990s, Jerome Williams. Georgetown has a lineage of big men that have gone on to play in the NBA. And then, of course, when JT3 came in, getting a guy like Jeff Green, getting Roy Hibbert, DeJuan Summers, and so many other Georgetown players, Otto Porter Jr. as well, that came in and had success and took it to the NBA. So, for Georgetown, I don't know, if and when Ewing is talking to these young kids, if that same approach is working on them. And then the other thing for me, Georgetown is not going to be able to get the 4 and 5 star recruits like the Duke and the Kentuckies and the UCLA's of the world. What Georgetown has to do, they have to focus on their system and they have to focus on being local. Just get the guys from the Maryland and DC area, maybe some guys that have been looked over in Pennsylvania and Virginia, and just have them come in and play ball for you and give it all that they have. To me, if you're Ewing, you cannot leave anything on the table at this point. And the thing is, if you're Georgetown and you're Patrick Ewing, the only way for you to go is up. Because I mean, you look at it, you were the worst team in the Big East this past season, and it wasn't even close. I mean, typically in recent years, that honor, if you want to call it that, has fallen to DePaul. But even DePaul was several steps ahead of Georgetown this season. And, unfortunately, just because you're a great player, it doesn't necessarily translate to being a good coach. And we've seen that in so many different sports at so many different levels. And maybe Patrick Ewing falls into this category. I mean, to be a great coach, you also have to be a great teacher and a great motivator. And that's one thing that helped John Thompson II. John Thompson II was a great teacher. So let's see what coaching adjustments that Patrick Ewing makes to his game for next season. And will he be enough of a teacher in order to get his message across? I mean, if you're Georgetown, it's not going to be a rags to riches story, in my opinion, as far as you going worst to first in the Big East next season. Stranger things have happened, but I highly doubt it. But with that said, Georgetown has to find a way, number one, to compete, and they got to find a way to try to get into that top half of the Big East. Now it's 11 teams, but still, you want to try to finish in that top six because what we've seen this year. Getting being one of the top six teams got you into the NCAA tournament. Of course, those were six legit teams, but nonetheless, this is a far cry from what Georgetown has been, what they've meant to the college basketball scene for so long. And when you think back to the heyday of the Big East, of course, two of your top teams are Georgetown and St. John's, and St. John's is trying to get back up there as well right now. And of course, Syracuse was in that mix as well, but of course, Syracuse is no longer in the Big East. But no, but nonetheless, Georgetown has to find a way to once again become relevant. They're trusting Patrick Ewing to right this ship. So let's see if the big fella can figure it out. But I mean, if you're Georgetown, you just want to put this season behind you, go forward, try to find a way to compete, and more importantly, find a way to win next season in the always improving Big East Conference. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you are on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.